Welcome to the Book Lounge. In today's video, we'll be diving into Atomic Habits by James Clear. We'll explore how small changes can lead to big results and how you can apply these insights to your daily life. Grab a seat, relax, and let's break down this powerful book together. Chapter 1, The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. Summary for Chapter 1. In this chapter, the author explains the transformative power of small, incremental habits. The key message is that success does not result from radical overnight changes, but from the consistent application of tiny actions that compound over time. Even a 1% improvement each day can yield significant results in the long run. The author uses an analogy to illustrate this. Just like a plane that shifts its course by a few degrees will eventually end up in a completely different destination, small changes in daily habits can profoundly affect one's life over months and years. The chapter emphasizes that habits, both positive and negative, accumulate and shape our outcomes, whether in health, work, or relationships. Instead of focusing on immediate results, we should prioritize forming habits that align with the person we want to become. Real-life application. Example 1, building a financial savings habit. Many people struggle with saving money, often thinking they need to set aside large sums to make any noticeable progress. A more manageable approach is to start small by saving even 1% of their income each month. Although the amount might seem insignificant initially, over time, the consistent habit of saving will lead to a substantial financial buffer. The key is to start with an easy, maintainable amount and build the habit, which can be adjusted as the savings grow. Example 2. Developing a daily meditation practice. Instead of committing to a 30-minute meditation session right away, someone new to mindfulness could start with just 2 minutes a day. While this brief time might not seem like much, the consistency helps establish a meditation habit. Over time, the individual can gradually increase the duration, benefiting from the cumulative effects of stress reduction and enhanced focus. The critical factor is starting small and allowing the habit to develop naturally. Conclusion for Chapter 1. Conclusion for Chapter 1. The chapter underscores the importance of focusing on small, incremental habits to create lasting change. By committing to gradual improvements and allowing time for those habits to compound, individuals can achieve significant progress in their personal and professional lives. Rather than aiming for quick wins, sustainable success comes from the power of small, consistent actions. Chapter 2, How Your Habits Shape Your Identity, and Vice Versa. Summary for Chapter 2. This chapter explores the crucial link between identity and habits, emphasizing that the most effective way to change behavior is to focus on your identity first. The author explains that rather than concentrating solely on outcomes, such as losing weight or writing a book, we should focus on becoming the kind of person who embodies the desired habits. The core idea is that identity-based habits lead to lasting change because they align with the type of person you want to be. For example, instead of having the goal to run a marathon, the goal should be to become someone who runs regularly. Each small habit, like going for a run each day, reinforces this new identity. The chapter highlights that every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. By shifting the focus from outcome-based goals to identity-based habits, long-term behavior change becomes more sustainable. Real-life application. Example 1, becoming a reader. Instead of setting a goal to read 50 books a year, an individual could focus on becoming a person who reads regularly. They could start by reading a few pages every day. Each time they read, it reinforces their identity as a reader, making it easier to stick to the habit over time. As this identity strengthens, they are more likely to continue reading, eventually reaching their goal without focusing on the number of books. Example 2, becoming a healthy eater. Rather than aiming to lose 20 pounds, someone could adopt the identity of being a healthy eater. They could start by making small, sustainable changes to their daily eating habits, like choosing a healthy snack or cooking at home more often. Over time, these small, consistent actions support the identity of a healthy person, making it easier to maintain better habits around food in the long run. Conclusion for Chapter 2. Conclusion for Chapter 2. This chapter highlights that lasting habit change comes from focusing on who you want to become rather than what you want to achieve. By building identity-based habits, each action aligns with the desired identity, creating a solid foundation for sustainable change. Instead of focusing on external outcomes, successful habit formation is about embodying the traits of the person you aspire to be. Chapter 3: How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. Summary for Chapter 3. This chapter introduces a simple, 4-step process for creating effective habits. The author explains that all habits, whether good or bad, follow the same pattern: cue, craving, response, and reward. These steps work together to create a loop that reinforces behavior over time. The cue triggers the brain to initiate a behavior, which leads to a craving, a desire to fulfill the cue. The craving motivates the response, which is the actual behavior or habit. Finally, the reward is the positive outcome that reinforces the habit and encourages repetition. The chapter emphasizes that understanding this process allows individuals to design habits more effectively, whether they are building new, positive habits or breaking negative ones. By recognizing these 4 elements, you can tweak each step to make it easier to develop the habits you want and eliminate those that are detrimental to your goals. Example 1: creating a morning exercise routine. To build a habit of exercising in the morning, someone could structure it using the 4 steps. The cue could be laying out workout clothes the night before. The craving might be the desire to feel energized and healthy. The response would be completing a short workout, and the reward could be the positive feeling afterward or a nutritious smoothie. By consistently linking these steps, the morning workout becomes automatic over time. Example 2: reducing screen time before bed. To reduce late-night phone usage, someone could start by identifying their cue, perhaps the habit of scrolling through social media before bed. The craving might be relaxation or entertainment. They could modify the response by replacing screen time with reading a book or practicing mindfulness. The reward would be better sleep and feeling refreshed the next day. Over time, this loop reinforces healthier nighttime habits. Conclusion for Chapter 3. Conclusion for Chapter 3. This chapter highlights that all habits follow a predictable pattern of cue, craving, response, and reward. By understanding and adjusting these steps, individuals can intentionally design better habits and break unwanted ones. Mastering this framework empowers you to build lasting, positive changes in your life by aligning your habits with your goals. Chapter 4: The Man Who Didn't Look Right. Summary for Chapter 4. In this chapter, the author emphasizes the importance of cues in habit formation and how our brains are constantly scanning our environment for them, often without conscious awareness. The chapter explains how cues trigger habits, and that our ability to notice these cues plays a critical role in whether we engage in a particular behavior. The author uses examples from real life, such as how subtle cues help recognize dangerous situations or form unconscious habits. The key message is that we can take control of our habits by becoming more aware of the cues that drive them. Once we learn to identify the cues that initiate certain behaviors, we can manipulate our environment to encourage positive habits and discourage negative ones. By doing so, we create conditions that make it easier to perform good habits and harder to engage in bad ones. Real-life application. Example 1: eating healthier snacks. Someone trying to build a habit of eating healthier can manipulate their environment by placing healthy snacks like fruit or nuts in visible and easy-to-reach places. This acts as a cue to eat healthier food. By making the cue obvious, the likelihood of engaging in the desired behavior increases. Conversely, they can reduce the temptation of unhealthy snacks by storing them out of sight or in inconvenient places, weakening the cue for junk food consumption. Example 2: developing a reading habit. A person wanting to read more books can create a strong cue by leaving a book on their nightstand or next to their coffee table, making it more likely they will pick it up in their free time. By making reading materials easily accessible and visible, the visual cue encourages the habit of reading, allowing them to spend more time on this activity without having to consciously push themselves to do it. Conclusion for Chapter 4. Conclusion for Chapter 4. The chapter demonstrates that cues play a crucial role in driving our habits, often without our conscious realization. By recognizing and controlling these cues, We can shape our environment to make good habits easier and bad habits harder to maintain. Understanding the importance of cues empowers us to design a life where positive habits naturally flourish. Chapter 5: The Best Way to Start a New Habit. Summary for Chapter 5. Chapter 5, titled The Best Way to Start a New Habit, introduces the concept of habit stacking as a highly effective strategy for embedding new habits into daily routines. The idea is that linking a new habit to an already established one can make the new behavior more automatic and easier to adopt. The chapter outlines how habits work in a cue routine reward loop, where a specific trigger or context prompts a routine, leading to a reward. By attaching the new habit to a reliable, established cue, people can bypass the initial friction that comes with behavior change. Additionally, the chapter emphasizes the importance of starting small. By beginning with easy, manageable steps, individuals can build momentum and consistency, eventually scaling their new habit to a more impactful level. Real-life application. Example 1. Someone looking to build a morning meditation routine can stack it onto an already established habit, such as making coffee. As soon as they finish brewing their morning cup, they can sit down and meditate for 2 minutes. By using the familiar action of making coffee a cue for meditation, this individual increases the likelihood of sticking with the new habit. Over time, they can gradually extend their meditation session once the habit is well formed. Example 2. A person who wants to improve their hydration might stack drinking water onto an existing habit, like eating meals. After every meal, they could drink a glass of water. This habit stack connects the act of drinking water to something already ingrained in their routine, making it easier to remember and follow through. Over time, this small habit can build up to better hydration throughout the day. Conclusion for Chapter 5. Conclusion for Chapter 5 emphasizes that habit stacking is a powerful and practical way to start new habits by linking them to existing routines. By beginning small and attaching habits to well-established behaviors, individuals can ensure consistency and long-term success in habit formation. Chapter 6. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Summary for Chapter 6. In Chapter 6, titled Motivation is Overrated, Environment Often Matters More, the author argues that while motivation is important, the environment plays a much bigger role in shaping habits. The chapter emphasizes that human behavior is highly influenced by external factors, and that the environment can either make habits easier or harder to perform. Instead of relying solely on willpower or motivation, individuals should design their surroundings to support their desired behaviors. By altering the cues around us, we can trigger positive habits more effortlessly. This idea focuses on the principle that we are more likely to stick with good habits if the environment encourages and facilitates those actions. The chapter also highlights how small changes in our surroundings can lead to lasting behavioral improvements, and how making desired actions obvious or convenient can boost consistency in following through with them. Real-life application. Example 1. To build the habit of reading more books, someone can alter their environment by placing books in visible, accessible areas throughout their home. For instance, putting a book on the coffee table or next to their bed makes it easier to reach for a book instead of a phone or remote control. By removing distractions like TV remotes and placing books in prominent places, the person increases the chances of choosing to read when they have free time. Example 2. If someone wants to improve their eating habits, they can adjust their kitchen environment by making healthy foods more visible and accessible while hiding or removing unhealthy snacks. Keeping a bowl of fresh fruits on the counter and storing unhealthy options in less convenient places, such as a high cabinet, creates an environment that encourages better food choices. This environmental shift helps to promote healthy eating habits without relying on constant motivation. Conclusion for Chapter 6. Conclusion for Chapter 6 highlights the idea that while motivation is helpful, designing an environment that supports good habits is more reliable in the long run. By adjusting the cues in your surroundings to promote desired behaviors and reduce temptations, habit building becomes easier and more sustainable. The key takeaway is that success in forming habits is often determined by how well the environment is structured to make the right actions effortless. Chapter 7: The Secret to Self-Control. Summary for Chapter 7. In Chapter 7, titled The Secret to Self-Control, the author explores the role of self-control in habit formation and emphasizes that relying on willpower alone is an inefficient strategy. The chapter argues that instead of trying to resist temptation, a more effective approach is to reduce or eliminate the cues that lead to bad habits. This shifts the focus from constantly battling urges to creating an environment that limits exposure to tempting situations. The author explains that people who appear to have strong self-control often just have better systems in place that reduce their need for willpower. The chapter also highlights the fact that the more often one resists a temptation, the weaker their resolve becomes, making it increasingly difficult to maintain self-control over time. The key takeaway is that designing your environment to remove or avoid triggers is the best way to maintain self-control and prevent bad habits from forming. Real-life application. Example 1. Someone who struggles with procrastination when using their computer can install a website blocker that limits access to distracting sites during work hours. By removing the temptation to browse social media or entertainment websites, they are reducing their reliance on self-control. The absence of distracting options makes it easier to focus on work without needing to constantly fight the urge to procrastinate. Example 2. A person who wants to cut back on unhealthy eating can prevent temptation by not keeping junk food in their house. Instead, they can stock their kitchen with healthier options like fruits, vegetables, and nuts. By eliminating the environmental cue of having unhealthy snacks within reach, they minimize the chances of indulging in them. This way, they don't have to rely on willpower to avoid unhealthy eating because the temptation is no longer readily available. Conclusion for Chapter 7. Conclusion for Chapter 7 emphasizes that the key to self-control is not to constantly resist temptation, but to design an environment that reduces exposure to it. By removing triggers for bad habits and shaping surroundings to support positive behaviors, individuals can make better choices effortlessly. The chapter reinforces the idea that sustainable self-control is achieved by limiting the need for it through smarter environmental design. Chapter 8: How to Make a Habit Irresistible. Summary for Chapter 8. In Chapter 8, titled How to Make a Habit Irresistible, the author discusses the importance of making habits more appealing to increase the likelihood of sticking with them. This chapter introduces the concept of temptation bundling, a strategy where you pair an action you need to do but might resist with something you want to do. By linking a habit to a more enjoyable activity, the habit becomes more attractive, making it easier to follow through. The chapter also explores how the brain's dopamine response plays a key role in driving behavior. Habits that are associated with a sense of pleasure or reward stimulate a dopamine release, which reinforces the behavior and encourages repetition. By making a habit more enticing, individuals can harness this natural reward system to solidify positive routines and ensure consistency. Real-life application. Example 1. If someone struggles with exercising regularly, they can use temptation bundling to make working out more enjoyable. For example, they could only allow themselves to watch their favorite TV show while exercising on a treadmill or stationary bike. By pairing an activity they enjoy with a necessary but less desirable habit, they increase their motivation to exercise. The immediate reward of watching the show helps reinforce the workout habit. Example 2. To build a habit of doing chores, someone might pair cleaning their house with listening to their favorite podcast or music. Cleaning on its own might feel like a mundane or unpleasant task, but when combined with the enjoyment of listening to engaging content, it becomes a more pleasurable experience. Over time, this positive association can make the person more inclined to clean regularly. Conclusion for Chapter 8. Conclusion for Chapter 8 emphasizes that the key to making habits irresistible lies in pairing them with enjoyable activities and leveraging the brain's reward system. By using temptation bundling and making habits more attractive, individuals can turn challenging or tedious tasks into something they look forward to. This approach makes habit formation easier and more sustainable by tapping into natural desires for pleasure and reward. Chapter 9: The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits. Summary. Chapter 9, titled The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits, discusses the powerful influence that social networks, especially family and friends, have on our behavior and habit formation. The chapter explains that humans are social creatures who tend to mimic the actions, habits, and values of those around them. We are often drawn to behaviors that are common in our social groups because they provide a sense of belonging and social approval. This tendency makes it easier to adopt habits that align with the norms of our community and more difficult to maintain habits that go against the grain. The chapter also explores how choosing the right social environment or surrounding yourself with people who have the habits you aspire to develop can significantly impact your success in creating new habits. Family, friends, and peers can either support or sabotage your efforts to change, making it essential to understand their role in shaping your behaviors. Example 1. Imagine someone trying to develop a habit of regular exercise. If their family and friends are sedentary and rarely engage in physical activity, it may be more difficult for this person to stick to their exercise routine. However, if they join a social group or community, such as a running club or fitness class, where exercise is the norm, they are likely to adopt and maintain the habit more easily. The collective behavior of the group reinforces the new habit by making it feel socially acceptable and desirable. Example 2. Consider someone who wants to quit smoking. If they continue to spend time with friends who smoke regularly, it becomes much harder to break the habit due to constant exposure to triggers. On the other hand, if they surround themselves with non-smokers or others who are also trying to quit, the social support and shared goal make it easier to resist the temptation. In this case, the influence of a positive social group strengthens their resolve to change. Conclusion for Chapter 9. Conclusion for Chapter 9 highlights the profound impact that family, friends, and social circles have on our habits. By being mindful of the social influences around us and actively seeking out environments where good habits are encouraged and supported, we can increase our chances of success. Surrounding ourselves with individuals who embody the habits we wish to cultivate makes the process of change smoother and more sustainable. Social dynamics play a crucial role in shaping who we are and the habits we develop. Chapter 10: How to Find and Fix the Causes of Your Bad Habits. Summary for Chapter 10. Chapter 10, titled How to Find and Fix the Causes of Your Bad Habits, delves into the underlying reasons behind bad habits and offers strategies for addressing them at their source. The chapter emphasizes that bad habits are often triggered by specific cues in our environment or emotional states, leading us to repeat behaviors we may want to eliminate. The key to breaking these habits lies in identifying the cues that prompt them and altering those triggers or responses. The chapter introduces the idea of habit loops, where a cue leads to a craving, a response, and ultimately a reward. By understanding this loop, you can disrupt the process at various points to weaken or eliminate the habit. The author suggests that the most effective way to fix bad habits is not by sheer willpower, but by redesigning your environment and creating new routines that make bad habits less attractive and harder to perform. Real-life application. Example 1. Someone who struggles with snacking late at night might realize that their bad habit is triggered by boredom rather than hunger. To fix this, they could replace the cue, boredom, with a healthier response, such as engaging in a hobby like reading or a physical activity like a short walk. By breaking the connection between the cue, boredom, and the response, snacking, they can weaken the habit loop and eventually eliminate the bad habit. Example 2. A person who habitually checks their phone first thing in the morning might recognize that the cue is the proximity of their phone by their bedside. To fix this bad habit, they could create friction by placing their phone in another room overnight, replacing the phone checking habit with a healthier morning routine like stretching or journaling. By making it harder to access their phone, they reduce the likelihood of engaging in the unwanted behavior. Conclusion for Chapter 10. Conclusion for Chapter 10 highlights the importance of addressing the root causes of bad habits rather than just focusing on the behaviors themselves. By identifying the cues and triggers that lead to unwanted actions and redesigning your environment to minimize those triggers, you can effectively weaken bad habits and replace them with healthier alternatives. The chapter emphasizes that changing your surroundings and routines is a far more sustainable approach than relying solely on willpower to break bad habits. Chapter 11. Walk slowly but never backward. Summary for Chapter 11. Chapter 11, titled Walk Slowly but Never Backward, emphasizes the importance of continuous progress, no matter how small, in the journey of building better habits. The central idea is that making slow, consistent improvements is far more effective in the long run than rapid progress that is not sustainable. The chapter encourages readers to focus on maintaining momentum rather than aiming for perfection. Mistakes and setbacks are inevitable, but the key is to never let these moments derail long-term progress. The concept of walking slowly refers to taking small steps forward, while never backward reminds us not to allow setbacks to lead to quitting altogether. The goal is to focus on showing up regularly and improving incrementally. Accepting that slow progress is still progress, and maintaining consistency is crucial to success in habit formation. Example 1. A person trying to build a workout routine might set an ambitious goal of working out 5 days a week, but finds that life gets in the way, causing them to miss a few sessions. Rather than feeling discouraged and quitting altogether, they adopt the principle of walking slowly but never backward. They might scale back their goals to 3 workout sessions per week, ensuring that they stay consistent, even if they are not progressing as quickly as they initially hoped. Over time, this slow, steady progress helps them achieve long-term fitness without the discouragement of missed days leading to complete inaction. Example 2. Someone who is trying to learn a new language may initially aim to study for an hour every day. However, due to a busy schedule, they may struggle to keep up with this target. Instead of giving up, they decide to commit to studying for just 10 minutes each day. By lowering the barrier and staying consistent, they still make progress, albeit more slowly, but they maintain the momentum that will eventually lead to fluency. This approach prevents frustration and helps them avoid a sense of failure, enabling them to continue improving over time. Conclusion for Chapter 11. Conclusion for Chapter 11 reinforces the idea that slow and steady progress is the key to building lasting habits. The focus should be on consistency rather than speed, with the understanding that setbacks are normal but should not lead to quitting. By adopting the mindset of walking slowly but never backward, we ensure that we continue moving forward, even if it is at a slower pace than initially expected. The key takeaway is that persistence and regular effort, no matter how small, will ultimately lead to success in habit formation. Chapter 12, The Law of Least Effort. Summary for Chapter 12. Chapter 12, titled The Law of Least Effort, focuses on the concept that humans naturally gravitate towards the path of least resistance, which can greatly influence habit formation. The chapter explains that the easier a habit is to perform, the more likely it is to be repeated. The author emphasizes that reducing the friction associated with good habits and increasing the difficulty of bad habits is a key strategy in building lasting behavior change. Small adjustments to your environment, routines, or systems can make desired actions easier to execute. Additionally, the chapter discusses how removing unnecessary steps and simplifying processes can help make positive habits automatic and sustainable. By making the effort required to engage in positive behaviors minimal, you increase the likelihood of sticking with those habits over the long term. Real-life application. Example 1. To develop a habit of eating healthier, someone could simplify meal preparation by batch cooking healthy meals in advance. By having pre-prepared nutritious food ready to eat, they reduce the effort required to make healthy choices. This approach removes the friction of having to cook each time they want to eat, making it easier to stick to their health goals. Example 2. An individual trying to cultivate a daily writing habit could streamline their writing environment by leaving a notebook and pen in a specific, easily accessible spot, such as on their desk. By keeping everything they need for writing within reach and eliminating distractions from the workspace, they reduce the effort required to start writing each day, making the habit more consistent. Conclusion for Chapter 12. Conclusion for Chapter 12 emphasizes that reducing friction is essential for making good habits easy to adopt and sustain. By lowering the effort required to engage in desired behaviors and increasing the difficulty of unwanted ones, individuals can use the law of least effort to their advantage. Simplifying processes and removing barriers helps ensure that positive habits become automatic and long-lasting. Chapter 13. How to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. Summary for Chapter 13. Chapter 13, titled How to Stop Procrastinating by Using the 2-Minute Rule, explores how to overcome procrastination and build habits through small, manageable actions. The 2-minute rule suggests that any habit can be started in just 2 minutes, making the task so easy that it's difficult to avoid. The chapter emphasizes that the key to habit formation isn't about accomplishing huge goals right away, but rather about showing up consistently, even in the smallest ways. By committing to 2 minutes of action, you create a gateway into more productive and sustained behavior. Once the habit is initiated, it becomes easier to extend it beyond the initial 2 minutes, building momentum for long-term success. The focus is on eliminating the barrier to starting, which is often the most challenging part of any task. Example 1. To develop a reading habit, someone could apply the 2-minute rule by committing to reading just 1 or 2 pages of a book before bed. By making the goal incredibly small, they overcome the resistance to starting, and once they begin reading, they may feel inclined to continue for longer. This approach ensures that even on busy days, some progress is made, and over time, the habit becomes ingrained. Example 2. For someone aiming to start a daily meditation practice, they might use the 2-minute rule by meditating for just 2 minutes each morning. This minimal time commitment makes it easier to get started, and over time, they may naturally increase the duration of their practice. By keeping the task short and simple at first, they reduce the pressure of building a new habit and make consistency achievable. Conclusion for Chapter 13. Conclusion for Chapter 13 stresses that the key to defeating procrastination is to lower the barrier to starting a habit. The 2-minute rule makes it so easy to begin that it becomes hard to say no, allowing you to build momentum and gradually extend the duration or intensity of the habit. Small actions lead to consistent behavior, making the creation of meaningful habits more manageable and less overwhelming. Chapter 14. How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Summary for Chapter 14. Chapter 14, titled How to Make Good Habits Inevitable and Bad Habits Impossible, explores strategies for restructuring your environment and routine so that positive habits become the default and negative habits become difficult or impossible to maintain. The chapter introduces the concept of inversion, which is the idea of reversing how you think about habits by removing friction from good behaviors and adding friction to bad ones. When habits are easy to perform and naturally fit into your day, you're more likely to stick with them. Conversely, making bad habits inconvenient, unattractive, or inaccessible can discourage their continuation. This chapter also emphasizes the role of environment design, how small adjustments in your surroundings can make it far easier to adopt positive behaviors and eliminate harmful ones. Through thoughtful planning and deliberate changes in your physical and social environment, you can create an ecosystem where good habits thrive and bad habits are pushed out. Real-life application. A person who wants to start eating healthier can use the strategy of making good habits inevitable by changing their environment. They might stock their fridge with fruits, vegetables, and whole foods while removing processed snacks and sugary drinks. By making healthy food easily accessible and eliminating unhealthy options, they ensure that when hunger strikes, healthy choices are the most convenient option. This adjustment in their environment makes it inevitable that they will choose healthier foods, as there are no tempting alternatives readily available. Example 2, someone looking to break the habit of mindlessly checking their phone while working can add friction to this bad habit by turning off non-essential notifications and placing their phone in another room. To make their focus on work more inevitable, they can set up a designated workspace with everything they need for productivity, such as a comfortable chair, proper lighting, and all necessary supplies within reach. By increasing the difficulty of checking their phone and making their work environment conducive to concentration, they effectively make the good habit of working without distractions easier and the bad habit of phone checking harder. Conclusion for Chapter 14. Conclusion for Chapter 14 stresses that making good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible is not about sheer willpower, but rather smart design and thoughtful preparation. By manipulating your environment, you can automate positive behaviors and naturally phase out negative ones. The chapter's core message is that habits are much easier to maintain when they are built into the fabric of your daily life, while bad habits lose their power when you place obstacles in their way. Chapter 15: The Cardinal Rule of Behavior Change. Summary for Chapter 15. Chapter 15, The Cardinal Rule of Behavior Change, introduces a fundamental principle of habit formation. Behaviors that are immediately rewarded are more likely to be repeated, while behaviors that are immediately punished are more likely to be avoided. This chapter emphasizes the importance of instant gratification in building new habits and maintaining them. The brain is wired to prioritize immediate rewards over long-term benefits, which is why habits that provide some form of instant pleasure are easier to adopt. To leverage this principle, it's essential to create an immediate sense of satisfaction for good habits while making bad habits less appealing or more punishing in the short term. The chapter encourages readers to find ways to make desired behaviors more enjoyable in the moment, whether through small rewards or by associating them with positive emotions. Similarly, it suggests increasing the immediate discomfort of bad habits to discourage their continuation. Real-life application. Example 1. A person trying to build a habit of exercising regularly can apply the cardinal rule by attaching an immediate reward to their workouts. For instance, they could allow themselves to watch their favorite TV show only after completing a workout session. This creates an association between exercise and something enjoyable, providing instant gratification that reinforces the habit. Over time, the positive reinforcement of looking forward to the reward will help establish exercise as a regular part of their routine. Example 2. Someone trying to quit smoking might use the principle by adding an immediate consequence to their habit. They could make a pact with a friend to pay a small fine every time they smoke a cigarette. The financial penalty introduces an immediate cost, making the bad habit less appealing. By adding this immediate punishment, they create friction that discourages the habit and makes it easier to quit in the long run. Conclusion for Chapter 15. Conclusion for Chapter 15 underscores the powerful influence of immediate rewards and punishments in shaping behavior. The chapter reminds us that to make habits stick, we must find ways to make good behaviors rewarding in the short term and bad behaviors immediately costly. By harnessing the brain's tendency to favor instant gratification, we can make it easier to adopt new habits and break undesirable ones. This principle is key to mastering long-term behavior change. Chapter 16, How to Stick with Good Habits Every Day. Summary for Chapter 16. Chapter 16, titled How to Stick with Good Habits Every Day, focuses on the critical role of consistency in habit formation. The chapter introduces the concept of the streak effect and how maintaining an unbroken chain of behavior can motivate individuals to keep their habits alive. By tracking progress and visually representing your success, such as marking an X on a calendar every day you complete your habit, you create a psychological urge to keep the streak going. Additionally, the chapter discusses how small wins compound over time, emphasizing that even minor actions, when done regularly, can lead to significant outcomes. To stick with good habits daily, the author stresses the importance of simplifying the process, making the behavior as easy as possible to perform. The idea is to reduce the friction associated with starting or continuing a habit, ensuring that it's always within reach. The chapter also highlights how missing one day doesn't ruin the habit. It's missing 2 days in a row that can break the momentum. Real-life application. Example 1. An individual wanting to develop a daily reading habit can set a goal of reading just 1 page a day. While 1 page may seem insignificant, the ease of completing the task ensures that the person keeps the streak going. Over time, This small action can snowball into a consistent reading routine, as the initial simplicity of the habit makes it more likely to be maintained on a daily basis. Tracking their progress by checking off each day they read, the individual strengthens the psychological desire to keep the streak unbroken, which helps solidify the habit over time. Example 2. Another example involves someone aiming to incorporate daily exercise into their routine. Instead of committing to a 1-hour workout every day, which might seem daunting, they reduce the barrier to entry by doing a 5-minute workout session as a minimum threshold. The short, easy workout ensures that they stay consistent even on busy days. Eventually, the act of showing up for the 5-minute workout turns into longer sessions when time and motivation permit, but the key is maintaining the daily practice, no matter how small. Conclusion for Chapter 16. Conclusion for Chapter 16 highlights the importance of consistency in building lasting habits. The chapter reinforces the idea that by making habits easy to start and tracking progress through visible reminders like streaks, we can maintain daily discipline. Small, simple actions performed regularly create momentum, making it easier to stick with good habits over time. Chapter 17. How an accountability partner can change everything. Summary for Chapter 17. Chapter 17, titled How an Accountability Partner Can Change Everything, highlights the transformative power of having someone else involved in your habit-building journey. Accountability partners can serve as external motivators who hold you responsible for your actions, which increases the likelihood of sticking to your commitments. The chapter emphasizes that humans are social beings who often modify their behavior when they know someone else is watching or expecting results. This external pressure can make habits more sustainable by providing feedback, encouragement, and a sense of shared responsibility. Additionally, accountability partners can help you recognize areas where you're struggling and offer guidance or support to keep you on track. The author suggests that incorporating social accountability into your habit-building process not only increases your chances of success, but also introduces an element of healthy competition or collaboration, which can be motivating. The presence of someone else who has a vested interest in your progress often adds a layer of seriousness to your efforts. Real-life application. Example 1. A person trying to stay consistent with a new diet plan can benefit from having an accountability partner. This could be someone who regularly checks in on their eating habits, reviews their food diary, and encourages them to stick to their nutritional goals. Knowing that someone will be monitoring their choices helps prevent moments of weakness or lapses, as the person is motivated to show consistent progress. In this scenario, the accountability partner serves as a mirror for their actions, helping them stay on track and adjust when necessary. Example 2. Another example involves someone aiming to build a habit of daily writing. By partnering with a friend who has similar goals, they agree to send each other their completed writing work at the end of each day. This partnership creates an external expectation to complete the task, reducing procrastination. The daily exchange of work not only ensures that they continue the habit, but also opens up opportunities for feedback and improvement, making the writing process more collaborative and supportive. Conclusion for Chapter 17. Conclusion for Chapter 17 underlines the crucial role of accountability partners in enhancing habit formation. By involving someone else in your journey, you add external motivation, encouragement, and constructive feedback, all of which can increase your chances of success. Having someone to answer to can be the difference between maintaining a habit and letting it slip away, reinforcing the value of social support in behavior change. Chapter 18, The Truth About Talent, When Genes Matter and When They Don't. Chapter 18, titled The Truth About Talent, When Genes Matter and When They Don't, delves into the complex relationship between talent, genetics, and effort in determining success. This chapter explores how natural abilities shaped by genetics can influence our strengths and weaknesses, but also highlights that effort and deliberate practice play an equally critical role in habit formation and personal achievement. While it's tempting to believe that certain individuals are simply born with particular talents, The author points out that people who excel tend to align their habits with their natural inclinations and capabilities. Genes can influence what we may be predisposed to excel at, but consistent effort is what turns potential into mastery. The key takeaway is to focus on finding habits that match your natural talents and optimize them to build momentum. The chapter emphasizes that it's not about what you're born with, but how well you can leverage your strengths to build effective habits that align with your goals. Real-life application. Example 1. An individual with a natural talent for endurance sports may find it easier to develop habits related to running, swimming, or cycling. They are genetically predisposed to excel in these areas, but the key to their long-term success lies in consistently training and refining their techniques. While they might have a genetic advantage, their real progress comes from sticking to a disciplined regimen of practice and incremental improvement, showing that talent alone is insufficient without effort and consistency. Example 2. Another example involves someone with a natural aptitude for mathematics. While their genetic predisposition might make it easier for them to grasp complex mathematical concepts, they still need to put in the hours of practice and learning to become proficient. By focusing on honing this strength through daily practice, studying advanced theories, and solving problems regularly, they can leverage their natural abilities and transform them into mastery, demonstrating that both talent and effort are necessary for sustained success. Conclusion for Chapter 18. Conclusion for Chapter 18 reinforces the idea that talent and genetics provide a starting point, but they do not determine success on their own. The chapter emphasizes the importance of aligning your habits with your natural strengths, while also recognizing that consistent effort, practice, and perseverance are the true drivers of long-term progress. The blend of talent and hard work is what allows individuals to reach their full potential. Chapter 19. The Goldilocks Rule: How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work. Summary for Chapter 19. Chapter 19, The Goldilocks Rule: How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work, explains a powerful principle for maintaining long-term motivation, known as the Goldilocks Rule. This rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are just on the edge of their current abilities. Not too easy and not too hard, but just right. The chapter delves into why challenges that are within our sweet spot keep us engaged, and how boredom can arise when a task becomes too easy, or frustration and anxiety emerge when it's too difficult. The key idea is that tasks must be aligned with an individual's level of competence to maintain interest and continue improving. The author discusses how successful people remain motivated not by sheer willpower, but by consistently working in the Goldilocks zone, where they push their limits slightly without overwhelming themselves. This allows for steady improvement while maintaining enthusiasm for the task at hand. Example 1. A person learning a new language can apply the Goldilocks rule by setting goals that challenge but don't overwhelm them. If they focus only on basic vocabulary for too long, they will become bored and disengaged. However, if they dive into advanced conversations too early, they may feel frustrated. By finding that just right balance, learning phrases that are slightly beyond their current skill level, they can stay motivated and continue improving. Example 2. In a professional setting, an employee seeking to improve their public speaking skills might use the Goldilocks rule by gradually increasing the difficulty of their tasks. Initially, they might practice presenting to small groups before taking on larger audiences. This step-by-step increase in challenge keeps them motivated. If they jump directly into speaking at a large conference without adequate preparation, they may feel overwhelmed, but smaller, manageable steps keep the process engaging and productive. Conclusion for Chapter 19. Conclusion for Chapter 19 highlights that the Goldilocks rule is crucial for sustaining long-term motivation and improvement. By focusing on tasks that are just right in terms of difficulty, individuals can avoid boredom and frustration, allowing them to stay engaged and make consistent progress. This balance between challenge and skill ensures that we remain motivated to achieve our goals over time. Chapter 20. The Downside of Creating Good Habits. Summary for Chapter 20. Chapter 20, The Downside of Creating Good Habits, explores the potential pitfalls of forming good habits, particularly when they become automatic. While habits are essential for progress and efficiency, there is a danger in becoming too reliant on them. Once a behavior becomes habitual, it can lead to complacency, where improvement slows because the individual is no longer conscious of their actions. The chapter discusses how habits, although helpful, can make us operate on autopilot, which can prevent us from adapting to new situations or finding more effective methods. Additionally, overconfidence can arise once a habit is mastered, leading to a decline in vigilance or the desire for growth. The author emphasizes the importance of remaining aware, even after forming beneficial habits, by continuously monitoring progress and seeking ways to improve beyond the automatic behaviors. Real-life application. Example 1. In the workplace, someone who has developed the habit of organizing their tasks with a to-do list might initially experience increased productivity. However, once this habit becomes routine, they might stop reviewing whether their methods are the most efficient. They may continue following the same task management process without questioning whether they could improve it. This is an example of how a good habit can lead to complacency and stifle innovation. Example 2. A person who has built a strong habit of exercising every morning may fall into the trap of repeating the same workout routine for months. While the routine helped them establish a consistent fitness regimen, sticking to the same exercises over time can cause their physical progress to plateau. In this case, the good habit of daily exercise becomes less effective because the person is no longer challenging themselves to push their limits or adapt their routine. Conclusion for Chapter 20. Conclusion for Chapter 20 emphasizes that while good habits are powerful tools for success, they also carry the risk of leading to complacency or stagnation. To avoid the downsides of automatic behaviors, it's crucial to regularly reassess and tweak habits to ensure they continue to serve their purpose. By staying mindful and avoiding autopilot mode, we can keep growing and adapting even after mastering good habits. In the last chapter of the book, titled The Secret to Results That Last, James Clear emphasizes that true and lasting change is achieved not just through setting goals, but by focusing on the systems and habits that lead to those goals. He argues that while goals can provide direction, it's the daily habits that shape our identities and ultimately determine our success. Clear highlights the importance of identity in habit formation. Instead of merely seeking results, individuals should strive to become the type of person they want to be. For example, rather than focusing on losing weight, one should adopt the mindset of being a healthy person. This shift in perspective helps reinforce positive behaviors and makes it easier to maintain good habits over time. Another crucial point Clear makes is the need for patience and perseverance. Progress may not always be linear, and setbacks are a natural part of any journey. By cultivating a growth mindset, individuals can embrace challenges and learn from their failures, rather than allowing them to derail their efforts. Celebrating small victories along the way can keep motivation high and reinforce the belief that consistent actions lead to meaningful change. Clear also emphasizes the significance of reflection and adaptation. Regularly assessing one's habits allows for necessary adjustments to align with personal goals and values. This continuous feedback loop enables individuals to optimize their approaches and stay committed to their desired outcomes. It's about understanding that habits are not set in stone. They can evolve as we grow. Moreover, the influence of our social environment is paramount. Surrounding ourselves with supportive individuals can significantly impact our ability to cultivate good habits. Clear encourages readers to seek out communities that foster accountability and encourage growth. Positive relationships can serve as a catalyst for change, while negative influences can hinder progress. Ultimately, the secret to results that last serves as a powerful reminder that sustainable success is built on a foundation of effective habits and systems. By focusing on identity, embracing patience, regularly reflecting on progress, and nurturing supportive environments, anyone can create lasting change. Clear leaves readers with the insight that achieving meaningful results is a journey of continuous improvement, where small, consistent actions lead to significant outcomes over time. And there you have it. Now it's time to take what you've learned and start applying these small, powerful habits in your own life. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Book Lounge for more life-changing insights. I'd love to hear from you. What stood out to you the most? What key takeaway will you put into action? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let me know what you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for listening, and let's keep building better habits, one step at a time.